Michael had a follow-up for you there, Carl.
Yep.
At least one, I guess. But it just surprises me, I guess, that well, first let me do some cleanup. When you're talking about the International Drug Control Treaty and the U.S. Compliance, it had to do with really something rather mundane. Within the treaty, each country that has cannabis as a medicine, whatever, is supposed to designate one governmental office to oversee that. And we had those responsibilities shared between NIDA and DEA and the Mississippi Farm, all over the place.
Yeah.
Exactly the reason that the treaty asks is why, this is a bad idea, because in the US, it is quite dyslexic when you're trying to talk to the program. There is no program, right? And that's the out of compliance part, the major out of compliance part. Also, the DEA was arguing with the State Department, because the State Department, like every other country, read the treaty and said, well, of course, the government can have a non-governmental entity, a contract grower or whatever. It doesn't have to grow all the weed, but yet the DEA was saying the opposite and even arguing it in court. It's quite dyslexic. But my question is this, states, really, it strikes me, we see the passing of the buck at the national level, like where the executive branch says, oh, the Congress should do it. Congress says the executive branch should do it, back and forth. We've seen that, especially with scheduling. But I guess it's a little more hidden, but I see it in your work and at the state level at this passing of the buck, because here the states are essentially hoping that the feds do something, when in reality they still may have medical marijuana in their state, but they may have cannabis in Schedule 1, or they may have medical marijuana in their state.
Oh yeah,
no,
it's an alternative. It's basically saying we're going to let you use marijuana, and it's not safe for medical use, and it's not safe for for use under medical supervision, but we're going to let you decide for yourself whether you think it's good for you, but it's not approved, so you use it at your own risk. There's no guarantee that it will work. We're telling you it's not safe, all these different things, but we're going to let you use it. So it's the authorization of something outside the context of the Controlled Substances Act, saying it's an exception. So the state has created an exception to the Controlled Substances Act because it doesn't fit in the Controlled Substances Act. That's what the federal exemption would do, the same exact thing. It would say, this is exempt. All that other stuff does not apply. And we're not approving, we're not saying this is good for anything. You decide that. We're going to let you decide. If you think it's good for you, you go ahead and use it. We're saying we don't think it's good for anything, but we're going to stay out of it. It's like medical necessity in a way, or it's like, so it's an exception. And in the international treaties, you've got medical use, scientific use, horticultural use, industrial use, and then you've got domestic law. It says, and constitutional law. That's not medical use. It's not scientific use. It's not horticultural. It's not industrial. It's other, and it's covered. The treaty allows for that. So there's no way that you can say that what you're doing is not okay, but you have to identify why it's okay and use those sections of the treaty to say, this is what we're doing. We're not confused about it. We know what we're doing. These are our rights. And that's what's not happening. We're not seeing the states say they have a right to do this under federal and international law. And they do. But they won't say it. And the same thing, like when you see Portugal or Jamaica or something change their laws, they need to tell the UN, we're doing this pursuant to the UN treaty. This is a section of the treaty that allows us to do this. We're filing a declaration with the International Narcotics Control Board explaining what we're doing so that you know that we're not just giving you the finger and saying we don't like law and order or something. So yeah. Yeah, there's a way to do this, but people are not passionate enough about this to care. And it's like, well, who's being injured by this? Well, people who can't defend themselves, right? Was a person that's on this program's got a debilitating medical condition, what are they going to do? Sue the DEA? Like, where do they get the wherewithal to do that? So I have the wherewithal to do that, and I'm doing that, and I'm doing it out in the open and in full cooperation with our Department of Public Health, and they know why I'm doing it, because I can, and I'm healthy, so I can stay focused.
Well, you keep doing what you're doing, because that voodoo that you do is working.